Welcome to the Leo Training Podcast, a podcast focused on scientific and real-world expertise on training strategies between your ears, behind the oar handle, on the field and court, and in the strength and conditioning room. I'm your host, Joe DeLeo. I am a strength and conditioning coach, speaker, and lifelong student focused on continuous improvement. Thank you for joining me, and let's roll to today's episode. Sizwe Ndlovu was born in Johannesburg, South Africa in 1980. He was one of 7 children in his family. He grew up playing a variety of sports such as cricket, soccer, and rugby. He found the sport of rowing at Mondior High School in 1997. Rowing put him on a path of life transformation. Through the encouragement and support of his late headmaster, Tom Price, Sizwe continued to excel in rowing and in school. By 1999, he began his international rowing career racing the junior men's quad at Plovdiv, Bulgaria. The next dozen years of training and racing were mired in success and setbacks through injury and illness. In 2012, Sizwe stroked the South African lightweight men's 4 to Olympic gold. Sizwe Lawrence Ndlovu became the first black male gold medalist in the sport of rowing, and this was only the second Olympic gold medal in the history of South Africa. Sizwe continued to compete through the 2015 World Championship season and then transitioned into coaching. He is responsible for talent identification as well as coaching of junior athletes in rowing. He continues to focus on developing the next generation of rowers of color. One final note. Unfortunately, our interview did not have a formal conclusion to it. Sizwe and I lost internet connection around the 70-minute mark, which is why you will experience an abrupt ending to this interview. Do you like rowing research? Do you value evidence-based practices to inform your coaching and training? Then let me tell you about my latest project. In August 2020, fellow rowing strength and conditioning coaches Will Ruth, Blake Gourlay, and I launched The Science of Rowing. Science of Rowing is a monthly publication that mobilizes the wealth of knowledge in academic journals. We provide coaches and rowers of all levels with practical applications they can immediately put into use. Each month, you will receive a plain language written review of a journal along with bonus video and graphic content. If you are interested in learning more about Science of Rowing, visit our website at www.scienceofrowing.com. You can also download 2 issues for free. Now, on to the interview with Sizwe Ndlovu. I am absolutely thrilled to have on the Leo Training Podcast Lawrence Ndlovu from you're in Johannesburg right now, or is it? Yeah, Johannesburg. Yeah. Awesome. Yes. So 2012 Olympic gold medalist. Really excited to sit down and talk with you. Welcome onto the show.
Afternoon, Joseph. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what time is it you saw. Is it a morning or afternoon?
It's 7:54 a.m.
Oh, it's early mornings. Yeah,
it's early mornings. But us rowers are no stranger to the early morning.
No, we're used to that kind of time. So that's actually too late for us by the time we need.
That's right. So you and I, we're going to get right into it, man. I'm pumped to be sitting down chatting with you. So let's talk about how you got started in the sport of rowing. You were born in 1980 in Johannesburg, South Africa. And, some of the research I did for our interview, you played a variety of sports growing up, including cricket, European football, which we know in America is soccer, and rugby, of course. And you began rowing in 1997 at, and correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Mondior High School. And okay, so talk to us about that. How you started off playing some of those other sports, and how you came to find rowing.
Wow. Okay, it's a long story. It's going to be a long story, but we have the time. So, as you said, I was born in Johannesburg, in the south of Johannesburg, an area called Mondior. I think I lived there until probably I was, the first 6 years of my life. I then had to attend school. So how I came to be born there, my mother was a domestic worker in the area in the south of Johannesburg. But back where my mother grew up was in Volksrust, which is about 3 hours away from Johannesburg. It's another small town with the township and all of that. So I grew up there after being born, and I had to attend school or junior school there, living with my grandparents while my mother was that side. So it happened that in 1994, end of 94, I was visiting my mother in the south of Johannesburg. Like it always happens. So how it worked, I used to see my mother during school holidays, which is the Easter holiday, June holidays, September, and then December holidays. So it happened that year, December, and I had friends that side as well in Johannesburg. So back at home here in Volksrust, I had the black community in a township at the black friends, where that side I had the white friends. So it happened that in the beginning of 95, when it was time for me to go back to school, my friends then we had so much fun during holidays. So all of them were around, and it was time for us to start preparing to go back to school. And then they're like, listen, why don't you just attend school and stay here with your mother, and so we can all play beat together. So I took my chance and asked my mother, and then who then had to go ask the employer if we could stay in the same property, in the same room that you're staying, and attend school in the same area. So yeah, that's how it came for me to come in. And luckily, an employer had said, yes, let's try and see what could happen. And yeah, I went normally at that time of the year, January, it's a bit late to apply for schools that year. You normally apply the year before, as I said. So we went to one primary school I was supposed to, or senior primary, and they were full. So they went to the high school. In fact, I skipped a standard, a grade. I went to grade 8 instead of grade 7 because the grade 7 was full. So I was lucky. I skipped a grade, went to grade 8, and I was gone. So when I got to Mondio High School, we're encouraged to do a couple of sports every season, like summer sport, winter sport, autumn, winter, you know what I mean? So I'd never done any sport in township school. I think the only sport I probably ever did it wasn't sport, it was a traditional dance. And we used to sing as well. I think the only sport we had was athletics. So I was overwhelmed when I got to the high school, grade 8. We're given a list of sport that we had to choose. We had to do a sport, so there was no choice. I mean, there was a choice, but you had to choose to do one. You had to do one. So I chose quite a lot. I mean, as you said, you mentioned soccer. You guys call it American football, hey?
Yeah.
No, that's not American. Yeah, football. So I played soccer, I played rugby, I did water polo. Yeah, I think I even tried cricket. So it was,
nice.
I was 15, 16, and it is just all exciting, never been exposed. This is all new. But the cost of the equipment, the cost of this, I mean, my mother we had to find money to buy extra kit and all of that stuff. But it was fun, it was nice. I think I enjoyed school more of the activities rather than the school itself.
Yeah.
At the time when I started, yeah. So I then had chosen water polo as my main sport because then I took the liking to the water. I enjoyed the water more than anything. So I played water polo in end of 96. And what had happened is that there was going to be a school inter-high. And the inter-high, we were short of swimmers. So they then had said, we need swimmers, and we're going to take the water polo players to swim for the inter-houses. And I had said, no, I don't want to swim. I don't want to do swimming. So the rule was, if you don't swim, you quit. You must go find another sport. You're not allowed to play water polo. So with me being that stubborn, I said, okay, cool, I'll go find another sport, which was going to be water sport. And that sport was rowing.
Awesome.
So I was lucky. At the time, it was managed and coached and run by the headmaster, the late headmaster Tom Price, who was the head of rowing, obviously was the head of rowing, and he was the science teacher. He was the headmaster. He was looking for the black athletes for transformation and actually more athletes to join rowing. So I raised my hand. I went. I had no clue what was rowing, by the way. I asked what was rowing. They told me, no, you get on the water, you get on the boats. So I thought it would be similar to water polo, but it wasn't. You don't get as wet as water polo, obviously.
Yeah.
And you don't wear the hats and all of that stuff. But it is challenging because then, well, luckily we learned the skills to balance the boat. So 6 months later, I was in rowing camp, and that was me hooked. Long story short, in that, I think when we started, yes, we were 4 black kids. That was 97. And by the end of that season, I was the only one left. The other 3 black kids had just decided, no, this takes too much time. Because what happens is you go to school in the morning from 8 until 2 in the afternoon. You then go training at the dam in the afternoon. You get home late, 7 o'clock in the evening. You must still do your homework. Then on your Saturday mornings, 4:30, you get up, you run into school to catch a bus because it's a regattas. You're racing either in Pretoria or different areas. So that was my lifestyle, and it was a lifestyle that I lived from school. So I loved it because my weekends were nothing. I mean, I had the time. I was at that time, I think before I started rowing, I used to be a newspaper boy, you know. Mm-hmm. Besides school, I had to earn cash, extra cash for pocket money, or to buy books and to buy extra uniform as well, because I had to assist with the income from my mother's income. So when I started that, I was a newspaper boy. I used to deliver newspapers in the area of Mondio. It was about 30 to 40 newspapers before school. So I'd get up at 3 in the morning, go deliver those papers and come back. Afternoon, after school is all I studied. But when I started rowing a year later, it then came to an end. And basically, I didn't have to worry about school fees as long as I was performing on rowing, and I was passing. I was good. So that was the agreement we had with Tom Brown. So,
couple questions I have for you there. So, one, I wanted to touch upon the headmaster, Tom Price, because one of your teammates, Lawrence Britton, who I reached out to, mentioned him specifically and said that he was a pretty influential influence on you.
He was the key.
Sorry, say that again?
He was the key. He was the key that opened many doors. He was that special key that opened all the doors after that.
Love it. And so could you just touch upon, you said, as you were explaining how you entered the sport, that he was focused on transforming the sport with the black athlete. But what do you mean? Why was he focused on that? And what impact did that have on you and some of your teammates and schoolmates?
Yeah. So I think the reason he was doing that, he had been involved with rowing South Africa, junior rowing South Africa, for a number of years. So he had managed a couple of international trips to world champs with the junior team. He would manage it. So every year he would go with the junior national team internationally. I think what would happen at that time, it was obviously that time where transformation had to start happening. And when I started high school, it was just the early days where black people are allowed to go to white school. It was just after those days when after the Olympic sanctions, when after 1994, basically. And so he also needed rowers more. You needed to transform. In order to transform the national junior squad, you needed to transform from the foundation, which is school rowing. So for him, I think that's where he could go start, because he had the access to the school kid, to us who were the school kids at the moment at the time. And so I think that was the goal, to have more black person of color into the sport and be transformed and so that it's exposed. So he was a key influence, and he was my mentor. He was my father. Sadly passed away 2005, way before the Olympics. But he was, I'm trying to find a way to describe him. Yeah, he was a dad. He was a friend. He was everything. He was that person when I had homework, when I had under pressure where I can't go to camp and say, listen, I don't have money to go to camp, or I don't have lunch. Like, listen, my boy, you don't have to worry about paying for camp. And listen, you're stuck with school homework. Come in my office. I will help you. So I mean, there are days where I've missed class, where I'd sit in the office with him because I had a test the next day and I did not understand this. And I would sit down and he would go through. He was obviously more into science, but obviously as a teacher, you teach anything. And so he would sit me down and teach me and help me with homework and help me with all this stuff. So I think for him, it was not about making me a rower, but I guess it was just changing my life, making me a better person. So that's what I took from him. So it was not only about drawing, it was just skills. It was about just learning, it was just hopping. And so for me, at that time, then that's where I found, I think, sense of belongingness. Because I guess I had came from the struggle. I'd lived in the township, there are nights where you go to bed with no food, without eating, not knowing the next meal was going to come. Or when your mother gets paid, sends money into her grandparents, and her grandparents get paid their money at the end of the month. So it was tough times. So you sort of I found a new family, a sense of belongingness. There was a structure in my life. I mean, he used to pick me up in the morning at home, where my mother was working. At 5 a.m, some days 5 o'clock. We go training at the school gym. There was a school gym. We go on a rowing machine. We do gyms. And if I row the ego machine, he will do gym. If I'm doing gym, he will do certain things. So he was quite active himself, but he was quite old. But I think he was there just to monitor and just see.
Yeah.
And teach the rowing technique and all of that stuff. So he picked me up in the mornings and made sure that I trained before school. Would shower, I'd go to class. After class at 3 o'clock, I would take us to the water. He would drop me home the weekends. During the off season, he would then pick us up. He had what he used to collect the old DKWs, the cars. So he used to pick me up again with other boys that did some rowing. They did rowing as well. Would go to his house, do what he call fix his cars, also do boat maintenance, and then he will take us to the car shows. We'll have a braai, we'll go on a camp, sort of things. So it was just,
it's incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it was just incredible. And so for me, as I say, it was just that I was belonging somewhere. The life had changed. Never thought life would be like this. So I never looked back. And then it got me. So then So from then onwards, I went to grade 9, grade 10, rowed under 16 and opens. He then had entered me into a selection for the junior national squad, which then I was selected for transformation or whatever. I would say transformation in 1998. So there was a squad going to Belgium, Nazavenko, and Holland, international regatta. It wasn't a junior world champ. It was just one of those regattas, exposure. Let's take the kids race so they can get exposed. And I think that was my first overseas trip. I never thought I'd be overseas. I was still at school. So that was the catch for me, getting to Belgium and going to Holland. Never mind the stuff I saw in Holland, but Netherlands. Into some interesting stuff. It's called red light something,
Yeah.
Those are the life things that you used to see. But I remember, I'm just thinking about it, the memories that I have in my head about Holland, the junior. When we race, I came last in every race. But for me, it was just, I saw how real the sport is internationally. It was the track. The racetrack. It's mainly made next to it. There were cyclists, coaches, there's path. It was to the T. Everything was organized. Where the regattas I've attended at home, it's dams, And so you only get to see the last probably proper race. You see the last 8,000 meters. So you don't get to see the first half of the race as it coming, because it's right in the middle of the dam, and you see towards the end because you're out. Where in Belgium and Holland, it was just your race. You can follow the race as long as you have a bike, or there was a TV stand that you could watch on a TV stand where the race was happening. So it was just, that's it. This is the sport I want. This is unique. We don't have this at home. I want to do more of this. So after coming last there, it motivated me to come back home to make the national junior team the following year, which was my last year for matric at school, and to train hard and make it and go and represent my country on merit. And yeah, as I said that I did, I went back home after that, after all the fun, the exposure. I trained, did my school, and I made it. So I was in the junior national quad. That was selected to go to Bulgaria, junior world championships. And we came 9th at the world championships. That was my second trip internationally, but at first junior world championships, 9th. And I was happy with that. So that got me a bursary at the university where I'm coaching now, which is University of Johannesburg. At the day, it was called Rao University. So when it got me a bursary there, then I was offered a bursary to study sports management. And so I followed that, and I finished my matric. As I left high school, Mr. Price, the late Tom Price, was still the part of my life. He used to come to the functions at the University of Johannesburg, and this was all through him. I don't remember sitting down and applying for scholarships or sending applications. I actually don't know that process. I only learned that process as I go to university when I was a manager and a coach, because that was done by him. I mean, I can't remember. So he knew obviously that this kid needs to go to varsity. He's going to need the support. He's going to need this. As I said, when I graduated, he was there. When there's some functions, he was coming through. I got involved with some school coaching as well back at school. When I was at university, so he would come pick me up, still getting coached at the school and all of that stuff. So long story. Then go to university. 2000, there was end of high school was 99. So 2000, I go to university. I did sports management. Awesome. 2001, 2, and then my first trip there was 2001. At under 23s. That was, where was that? Linz or Tenstein. It was in Linz. Where is Linz? It's in
Austria.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was, it was Linz and Tenstein. I came 7th. So we won the B final. And that was in the lightweight men's 4. Then I still had another year to go next year for 123. So then I went back. We studied, trained, but it was different from high school, where now I had to manage my time. Now I had to get myself there. It was just, but luckily, as I said, I still had Tom Price in my life. We communicating almost every day. How's training going? Do you need transport to get to training? That still carried on. He didn't say, hey, this for me, it's high school. You end here. Now you're on your own, sort of thing. So you were still involved, and support was still there. And he obviously unlocked I met other people that he handed over me, like the manager at that time at university. I used to get paid to roam, and I was getting a stipend. They were paying for my books. I was getting the free accommodation. All I needed to make sure is I pass and I perform on the water. And then my second year under 23, so I'm skipping and trying to remember all of those things.
It's great.
I love it. Yeah, my second year under 23 was 2002. That was my second and last year for under 23. There I was selected to go represent South Africa at under 23s. It was in Italy. I forgot. I'll remember the name again. Italy. What was the name of Italy? I'll remember. I forgot. But it was in Italy. But the results there, we got a silver. So we came second to the Italians, which they had the home ground. So that for me, it was also another a step into the right direction. So then, this is a sport. So my Olympic dreams had already started building and more wanting to go to Olympics. Obviously, just wanting to go to Olympics. Obviously, the goal, I don't know what it takes to win Olympics. Obviously, your junior world championships were big, but they're not as big. Went to 123, they're big. Then I hear the senior national. After this, you are joining the seniors. So that was 2002. 2003 was my first year senior. I was still at varsity. That year, then I had to move to Pretoria, which is where our senior national squad is based. And that's where the high performance center and everything was done. I then had to change university and move to Pretoria, it was Tuks University. That's about another hour from Johannesburg. Drive. I then had accommodation that side. I joined the national team, which was the year before the Olympics. So my first year as a senior, I was the youngest. The senior guys that had been training for a number of years. I was also selected to be part of the lightweight 4. I don't know how. I remember doing trials and made it. And we went to Italy where the world champs, I forgot the other, it was not Rome, but
Milan? Milan?
Sorry. Yeah,
Milan?
Yeah, somewhere there. I've got it somewhere in my book, in the thing. So we went to, it was World Championships, Senior World Championships 2003. There we came 14th, which means we failed to qualify. We were supposed to come top 11 to qualify. So it was for the Athens Olympics. We then came back home, and I think there were an Olympic, federation, or the NOC. It said, no, they're not going to send us for Olympic qualification. We were too far off the time. So then 2004, I took a break, focused on studies. At the same time, work. I then had joined the South African Police Services as a reservist. So there were quite a lot of things I was doing while I was juggling at the same time. I was working as obviously trying to pay off bills, study, and row, and balance all of those three things. So I was single, still had my parents. Tom Praz was there. I had left the RAU, or the University of Johannesburg, so now I had to find means of paying my own bills. So I became a field technician, used to fix cash machines. As I say, in the evenings I did police work. I would work sometimes from after work or after training around about 6, go to SAPS, book on duty, finish at 10 o'clock, go home, sleep, get up at 5. Somewhere there you'd find time to eat, get up at 5, go train, and then 8 o'clock make sure I'm at work. Full day work that finishes at 5. Then I must go train again. So it became that life juggling style. As I moved to Pretoria, of obviously wanting to pay bills and wanting to follow the dream and studies. And it happened that 2005 we tried, and then 2004, as I said, I took a break. 2005 we tried, I started the squad again, selections with the lightweight men's 4 and a heavyweight pair. We started training, went to Japan, World Championships. I think we came senior world champs. We had won the B final. Yes, we won the B final. So we came 7th in men's lightweight 4. And I think that was my top first results as a senior. Came back home, trained, doing all of those things, working, the usual, as I say, getting up at 4, going training. And I'm talking about training now, it's your own training. Everyone is all living in different places. It was not, we're going to meet and train. The only time the the lightweight crew guys trained together was Saturday and Sunday. Maybe if we like it, twice a week in the afternoons.
So we'd meet up. It was pretty decentralized at that point. It wasn't everybody was at a training center. There was a training center, but in terms of the crew mates, your teammates, you only got together for a handful of practices a week.
Yeah. So at that time, everyone all were working no one was willing to obviously leave their jobs and just focus on rowing because you still had to pay bills. And didn't have any kind of support. We didn't have any extra, whatever this income that was coming anyway. So we were all juggling things, and it was just like, it was chaos. So 2006, I think, I can't remember exactly what happened to you. Yes, we rowed 2006. And then it happened, where were we in 2006? World Champs in 2006, I can't remember.
Eton, Great Britain.
Yes, Great Britain. Yeah. Yes. Oh, so you've been involved with rowing quite a lot. So I can't remember what happened in 2006, whether we did go or not, but I don't think we did go. No, I don't think we did go. I'm trying to remember, yeah. But all I know, I remember 2007, the following year. So I'll skip 2006, I can't remember exactly. It was still obviously that juggling around, working, training and studying and decentralized. And I think everyone was just pulling different directions. And then 2007, we were selected again as we're still the same team, but plus minus 12 lightweight guys that were training would go through the selection process, would cut off. And I've always managed to make it to the top 4 or the top 2. I was the first top 2 guys. World Champs were in Germany. What's it? Munich. Yeah, I think it was Munich 2007. It was before Beijing. And it happened that I was sick. I got sick on the way there on the plane. Bronchitis. So, well, I don't know if it was bronchitis. I got sick on the plane, stopped in one of the Frankfurt airport, went to the doctor that gave me medication. I think it was a Monday. Tuesday, took Monday off. Tuesday, coach said, no sleep. We'll get you to the doctor. Eventually, Wednesday, I got to the doctor. The doctor said, listen, you're not going to be able to raise bronchitis. I was then flown back home. And then my roommate, who was Bruce Tavey at the time, also got sick from me and then had bronchitis. So we were both flown back to home. And then 2 guys that were there as under 23s came second under 23s. So they were going to race the senior pairs. They were then pulled into, there were 4 to try and qualify the 4 that year, which then didn't qualify. Came back home at around about the same time. I then lost my dad. 2007, around about June. It was just before then. June, I lost my dad. Then took a break. Well, I didn't take much break. I trained, but less training. 2008, we were going to go to the qualification regatta. And what happened is 4 days before we were to travel, I then lost my mother. It was around about the same time as my dad the year before. So I then lost my mother. The team left it was a Monday, the team left. And we had a funeral on Sunday. I then left on Wednesday to join the team that side. The racing started on Friday. And that was a disaster. We didn't qualify. And I guess then from there, for me, it was take a break. Let me reassess what to do now. It was 2 years in a row. It was 2006, I can't remember. Results weren't great, I think, that year. And then 2007 as well, got sick results. I've lost my dad. 2008, I was losing my mother. So it was just, for me, I think that was the worst time of my life, 2008. I then decided to take a long break. Nothing. And what happened while I was on the break, coach at the time approached me, listen, I'm training again. We're going to start training. There's new guys coming in. We're going to start preparing for 2012 Olympics. Then I told him, listen, I'm not too sure if I can carry on. I'm working, I'm studying. And this is too much. So he then convinced me otherwise to say, listen, stop working, go study, come study and row. Those are the 2 things you needed to do. And we'll find some cash for you to pay the bills. You don't have to worry. And I will stay in Pretoria. So I then stopped working at that time, 2008. I moved into the high performance center. I think that's where everything, the high performance lifestyle, understanding how everything works. I started to understand that the body needs to train and the body needs to rest. You need to eat. Where previously I was just that kind of person who was, if you're not rowing, I was working. If I was not working, I was chasing cops and robbers around Johannesburg. And so I was only probably sleeping, if I was lucky, maximum 6 hours, some days 5 hours. And that's not, that was not, what's
sustainable. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable. Exactly, sustainable. That's the word I'm looking for. So, and that's what the coach said. That's not sustainable. You're going to have to leave your work. We'll find some cash. How much are you earning? I told him how much I'm earning. So, okay. And then he said, okay, we'll get you exactly what you're earning. All you have to do is train. I need you in training at 7 o'clock. The whole day you are mine. You'll have to fit your studies somewhere there. And so, yeah, that was it. And I committed. I was in. And there's the lifestyle performance started. So pretty much 2009, I think the World Champs were in Poland. Yes, I was in Poland. I was in single scull. I came ninth in a single scull. It was my first time I rode in a single scull, lightweight single scull. And then 2009, 2010, we were in, where was 2010?
New Zealand? Is that New Zealand?
Yes. Karapiro. So Karapiro were the 4 again. So I remember it was the World Cup soccer in South Africa at the time. We then had to go, we went to Greece for a camp for 3 months and we missed the soccer cup. So with a squad of 6, made it to the top 4. What then happened 2010, we came, it was rough. It was the worst World Champs we actually ever have. We were in the B final somewhere there. Can't remember, we came 9th or 10th, somewhere there. Yes, 10th, if I'm correct. 10th or 11th, that was the position. We then came back home before the year of qualifications, training, got selected. What had happened then, I had carpal tunnel syndrome on my right hand. I had an operation in 2011, which I nearly missed the World Champs. So I was then not in a 4 that qualified the spot for Olympics in 2011. 2 months before or 3 months before that, I had an operation on the wrist, carpal tunnel syndrome. And then that was good. Just got right just before World Champs, which was the qualifications for London. I then ended up in a pair with another partner, and the 4 was there. I think when we raced in a pair, we didn't finish the heat. He had a hip broscopy. He had a problem with his hip, and then we had to pull off. And that was him. He was sent home. I stayed behind and trained. Yeah, and the guys qualified. So at that time when I got injured, they got a guy, a friend of mine. We used to ride together. They got Tony Paladin, who stroked it. So the coach went and asked him to come back and stroke. So they managed to take the last spot for qualification in 2011. That was in, what is it? I'm sure you remember.
Was that Bled?
Bled, yes, Bled. So after then we came back home, selections were done. I then had been back in the boat. Matt had his own issues as well, back operations, but everything came right. Everything came right just before Lucerne. No, I'm lying. Just before Petaluco in April. So normally Petaluco would be our first international race.
Yeah.
Italy.
Yeah.
Worst. That's also another worst course that I've actually raced. Some days it's in the early morning, it's nice. The afternoon, every race I've raced, it was cross head. And then you get the swells around the dam. But yeah, Petaluco was our first international to get, which half of the crews we raced there had qualified for Olympics. And what had happened is we raced all of them. We beat all of them. Well, we raced all of them in heats, semifinals, and finals, and we beat them all of those races. So we won Petaluco overall as well. And so we got quite confident for Lucerne, which is the 2 months. Lucerne was 2 months before Olympics, World Cup 3. So coach chose that one, and then we went to Lucerne and raced, and then Lucerne we came second. So from Lucerne, we knew that we've beaten all of these guys. Nothing can stop us now to go and do this in the Olympics. So we came, after Lucerne winning a silver, we went back home, trained. We went to altitude training in Lesotho. We went to sea level in Tanin. So there was a lot of camps before then. And then we only left for London probably 2 weeks just before the games, or just a week and a half. And and the rest was history. And the rest was history. That was the worst of my time, though. When we got to London, that was the worst one. I think the heats was easy, not easy to race, but like before the heats, I slept. Before the semi-final, I slept. When it came we came second in the heats, to straight into repechage straight into semi-finals. Came second in the semi-finals, and only the Danish had beaten us. So we beat the Chinese, and one other heat the Danes beat it. Danes were in our heat, they were in the semi-finals as well. So the Chinese who had beaten us at that we had lost into Lucerne 2 months before, because when we came second to them, we then kicked them out in a heat. So they were out of the Olympics, or basically were in a B final. So we then had a bit of confidence as well to say, guys, we've beaten everyone that's here. We have no excuse to still perform. So we came second in heats, second semi-final. We knew in the A final. After that, it was the worst time. I think it was 4 days, because it was just a couple of days before your races. I think the 2 days before the race, that's when I didn't sleep, visualizing, being nervous, shake. I probably had only slept 2 hours. During the day, it was go train or come back, eat, I'll sleep. Now you're watching your weight. Those were the worst. I'm not even lying to you when I said that the night before the heat, I probably only had slept an hour, full on. Right through the night, I was nervous.
Yeah.
I was visualizing the race. I was trying to relax. I was finding myself relaxed. Put my head down on the pillow, close my eyes. Okay, stop visualizing now. Sleep. It wouldn't. And then you have this race in your head, this nervousness, this pressure. There wasn't pressure, but it was controlled. But you know, when you visualize a race, sometimes you visualize a good race until the 500 or till the 1,000, and then something happens. You get distracted and like, no, let me start this race. I need to go to bed with the good visualization.
All the way to the finish.
All the way. So I kept on doing that the whole night, and I couldn't. You'll get up and go pee. You only had a small dinner because you don't want to be waking up heavy in the morning. You left enough space to have breakfast. You were racing at 12 o'clock, so you're weighing in as at 10. So you still have plenty of time. There's still the drive to the lake, to the dam. So, yeah, it was the worst. But after the weigh in, we ticked the box nicely. All of us, we only had 100 grams underweight, because we had planned to be on a spot, not waste any weight. So we're all on weight, all on fine, good. And the final came. Yeah, there were doubts and there were demons in that race. Straight at the blocks where you thought you were going to be fine. I didn't look back, but I found myself not seeing crews. And I had the doubts. I'm like, Olympic dream is over. But knowing that I had people behind me, and obviously we had our race playing, it was just something else. And I just kept moving. Race plan, one stroke at a time, breathing, keep the boat straight, because obviously that was my responsibility to make sure we're in the middle of the lane, make sure the rhythm, the length. So I was thinking one thing at a time. My mind had crept. And when I got halfway, and then I think that was excitement for me. It was just, okay, now it's halfway. Now calls are going to come. We're going home. So it slowly started building, and that was, it was the rest I just couldn't remember. It felt like I was finished.
You were finished, like almost like a out of body experience, like you were racing, but you just were so in the moment.
So I felt like I was moving, but I'm not in control of myself. Like I just felt like I was putting the blade in and it's moving. I was putting the blade in and it's moving.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel the quality didn't feel as quality. Like I'm in control here. and I'm ready to go. And when I was ready to go, yes, I did go. I mean, the last 250 was crazy. Even the last probably 500. We probably had the highest. I mean, if you look at the speed, with the highest speed consistently, and we're increasing and increasing. But it just felt like, I don't know if you've ever been into a position where your legs are burning, your lungs are burning, there's pins and needles on your toes, and now you can't even feel anything. I think you just about. It felt like I was about to pass out. I had not passed out, but I was about to pass out. And how I stopped and got up, celebrated, and finished, I don't remember how I did it. Because that last 250, it was just, there was no air.
Yeah.
There was no air.
You gave everything. Yeah.
I gave everything. Yeah, it was the rest of my life. And so, yeah, that was 2012. And I think the goal was also obviously to go to 2016. So after 2012, obviously we lost one member, Matthew. We then had a new crew member, which was Mike Fullman, a young kid. We then went to World Champs 2013. We came winning sixth in A final. I think the crew, the lightweights, started breaking up. We lost another member. I then also got a bit sick. 2014. Then I was in a lightweight double with John Smith. I then got sick, and then James got called to come back. I don't know if you remember James Thompson. Also was in a 4. They had the world record in a double 2014 in Amsterdam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was stroking that double. I then got sick for that whole year, and then James was called to stroke the boat. And, it broke my heart knowing that we had won every single race. We were doing seed racing with John. And I was a top sculler. He was a second top sculler. When I got sick and James got called in and I went and raced and still had the world record, I was just heartbroken. It was 2014. So when I came back 2015, I think we were still short of lightweights. And then coach had asked me to join the heavyweights and help out with the heavyweight squad. And they'll help me pick up some weight and get into it. So I got into heavyweight, and we raced Erkbelet, France in 2015 in the men's heavyweight 4. We were in a B final. I think we just missed out on qualification. Yes, we just missed out on qualifications. C final. After 2015, and then 2016, just before the qualification, I had a hip operation, I think. And then from there, it was just a decision time. After the hip replacement, I was on recovery, and I wanted to go to Rio Olympics. I looked at the time, it was 2 months before Olympics. It's not going to happen. And while on recovery, how I got back into university coaching now was, I was then approached by the university at that time to assist with the ladies. There was coaching the ladies. I then joined as a ladies coach, and I coached them to both race. They won. And then there was me, and then I had to make a decision either I'm going back or staying. And then I looked at the age. I said, I'm not young anymore. I need to start working. I need to start playing. I can't be chasing dreams. If there was funds, if there was money, if I was getting paid enough to do this thing, I would have carried on. But I needed to start a profession, my life, move on. And so that's how I left rowing. No, I didn't leave rowing. I'm still part of family, still part of rowing. But that's how I retired from rowing, is just from injury to coaching. Now I love it even more.
Do you enjoy the coaching more than being the athlete?
No, well, I miss being the athlete, but what I enjoy about it is having the time and being in charge of the time.
Yeah.
Because when I was an athlete, I was not in charge of the time. The coach was the boss.
That's right.
You had to arrive at a certain time. You had to leave when you're done session. Now I have to set the time. I think the worst thing now is for me. Well, it's not the worst. It's just, admin duties. That's just obviously disciplining the athletes, making sure they're there on time. I set the time. You there at 6. Now, I think the worst is, well, trying programs and all that. It's dealing with everyone's problems because every athlete has different issues.
Yeah.
So those, I remember I was a problem child too. I used to complain with everything, boat settings. I used to complain of boat wasn't sitting. Now I'm having that being returned to me. But now with the experience now, I can know how to deal with it because I knew how my coach dealt with it. I knew what he did when I thought he was not the nicest person or whatever it is. Because, I mean, Paul Jackson used to say, "You don't touch my boat." You know, so that was my coach.
Yeah.
So, and also when you're rowing and he says you're rowing badly and you feel the boat's not sitting, he will tell you, no, it's not the boat, it's you. Right. And which was right. And now I sit back and look at it, it was actually quite right. So as long as your boat settings and everything is right on the form, you need to work on the athlete. The problem will be there. So yeah, now I'm having to enjoy that, the time management and, you know, being in charge. That's something else. Being inspiring. I mean, it's different now. I'm giving information. I think to my student athletes, they obviously respect me and I respect them, but they see me as this genius. You know, oh, okay, he knows. You feel they look at me. Yeah, they see me as a genius because every problem they come to me. You know, sometimes there's a problem that they can fix, and I'm like, guys. And then you have to break it down to them. Like, okay, here's the problem. What would the solution be? And they always come with the solution. So why do you do it? Why didn't you do it before you come to me? If you'd done it before you came to me, you'd have a solution, and then you don't have to come to me. You only come to me when obviously you can't get a solution.
Right.
So yeah, those are the fine times now.
Yeah, you're developing and helping to transform the next generation.
Yeah, that's quite true. So yeah, and also besides obviously being a coach at UJ, I'm still involved with FISA. Also one of their development coaches. Run obviously the Southern region coaching activities. So those would be Zambia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Botswana, Malawi, Kenya does fall under me, and Namibia. There's another one I'm leaving out. Zimbabwe I didn't mention. I think I mentioned all of them. So I run those activities. So whatever activities that needs to happen, I have to make sure they happen. I'm sort of the mentor or sort of the go-to person of that.
Is that role an extension, or did that begin in 2014? Because one of the things I found was that you were appointed to the FISA Athletes Commission in 2014.
Yeah. So in 2014, when I became the Athletes Commission, that's something that obviously took to liking. As athletes, you need someone that will represent you into the board, because a lot of decisions are mainly. In rowing, we're lucky to have the executive board, I'd say, working well, making decisions that affects the athletes, and obviously the athletes have the voice. So we basically are the athletes' voice. So, looking back at my time, we didn't have that. We had I didn't know of Athletes Commission. I didn't know of anyone what issues I had. I didn't have abuse. If there was abuse or if there were issues or unfair racing, how to raise all of that, the right channels. So 2014, I became the Athletes Commission. Still am right now for the second term. And also, I think the coaching started 2016 when I wanted to get more involved with. I basically just wanted to be involved with what you call it. It used to be FISA, now it's not World Rowing. Now it's called World Rowing.
Yeah,
we're involved in our bigger federation, promoting the sport, growing the sport. Mainly transforming, because I think in our country it's seen as a white sport. It still is a white sport, because I'm not going to lie to you. I think both you and I know that it's quite price pricey. So,
Yeah.
and also, I think another challenge that we have here is facilities, and equipment. So we don't have lots of water around. Water is scarce. So we've got few dams. We've got few government schools that don't have their sport. So I think for us, it's just trying to tap into those, not just South Africa, through Africa. So only those who, I think right now, the private schools are dominating the sport, where the government schools are struggling because of the funding and all of that stuff and equipment. Yeah. So, my involvement is to pay it forward, basically.
You're right.
Do what Russ obviously did for me. And because there's no other place. I think there's no other place for me rather than this family.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You that is your family for sure. I found this doing some research. I found this quote from a article or interview, and this is from you. You had said there are around 20 Black South Africans for every 100 whites in rowing. So I'm excited about what we have achieved here today. This is in regards to the Olympic gold in London. And I hope I can serve as a role model to those back home. So what impact did you, being the stroke of that four have?
It changed. It exposed the sport to a lot of people who didn't know what rowing was. And I say this because, and to those also who knew rowing, but I guess they knew rowing, but they didn't see it as going that far, or there is such what you call Olympics, or there's such in Olympics. Because, why I say this, the following year, 2013, all the schools, been going to schools regattas. It was just crazy. It was the numbers, not just person of color, Black people, but the numbers at the schools had increased just after 2012.
Because that gold medal was only the second gold medal that South Africa had won ever. Not just it was the first rowing gold, but it was the second gold medal in the history of South Africa.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
In rowing, it was first ever. I think our first medal was a bronze, Ramon Di Clemente, and
in the pair.
And Donovan Check in 2008. So those were my inspiring. We're still friends with both of them. So yes, for me, that was one of the biggest thing. It took me a while as well to register and to know that what it means. So it means quite a lot, and just to be seen as to inspire someone else. I never knew that I'd be that person. It was not something obviously we planned to inspire. Well, you do now.
Yeah.
But with chasing your dream, it's not something that I want to be seen as that person and that. And it makes a lot of sense for me if I carry on and take it to the next, obviously with the coaching to the next level rather than leaving it behind. So I think that medal in 2012 had put rowing into a big map, into a big map. Those who didn't know about it, knew about it. Quite a lot of people, I still got questions even till today. What is rowing? So there's few people, hey, you that dude. And then people get interested and okay, I needed to teach my kids, please. How do I get involved with this? What's the access and all of that? So how do we access rowing and all this? So that is just, I think it's just amazing on its own.
Yes. And one of the other things that I pulled from another article was you talked about the personal, for you, the emotional fulfillment of giving back at this point with coaching and helping to develop and coach these athletes and be in a position to do for them what Tom Price did for you.
True.
Yeah.
he changed my life. And I think, and for me, it's still the same. It's the same message I pass into my student athletes to say, listen, you are here. You are not here because I want you to be a rower. You know, I now try and open lots of doors for them. Those who obviously cannot afford it. So I try, obviously, I mean, it's my job now to go to communities where students are performing academically. Obviously, there are criteria for the scholarships I give to say, listen, you know, try rowing, come try rowing. It could change your life. So you learn low life skills,
right,
in rowing that a classroom would have not given you. You know, so you go to classroom with those life skills. And also, I mean, it's also, you want to go to rowing because you want to enjoy it. You want to go have fun. Not just that serious. You know, that's how I did. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did it because it was fun. It got me traveling. I had friends. You know, there was a common goal. My goal was to move with the person in front. Our coach was there, move with the person in front of you or follow that person. So we used to do that. And so now it's a synergy. It's you know, when a team is working together to achieve one common goal, when I achieve that common goal, it's just, nothing beats that for me. It's just, you know, just seeing people working together.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I have some specific questions I want to make sure I don't forget to ask you. So, and I'll kind of jump around just a little bit here. So one is, I wanted to make sure we got the backstory of how you got your nickname, Siz, or Sizwe. All right. And what does that mean? What does that nickname mean? What's the significance of that nickname?
So my name means Sizwe. Sizwe means nation. Nation, as in English. So I come from a family of 7. I've got 3. Now there's 5 of us left. I'm the last one. And I've got 3 sisters, and we're 4 brothers. 2 have passed on and 2 are still alive. And as I said, 3, there's 5 left. So when I was named Sizwe, meaning the nation. So my mother had this nation. So Siz, again, I think it came from a friend of mine who said, seize the moment. You know, so I seized the moment. So it stuck and it stayed. And it's a short of my name. So it went well with Sizwe or Siz. So now it became seize the moment.
I love it.
And that's how I got Sizwe. That's how I got Siz.
Yes. That's awesome. That is cool. That is cool. The next question I wanted to ask you is, so some of the very famous photos during the Olympic final and the regatta, they from a technical standpoint, they focused in on the fact that you either had straws or zip ties on the gunnels, the gun wheels, for the catch angle. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that. It's it's a very simple tool to use in terms of for the athletes to have that visual aid. But what was the significance to you and your crewmates in using that, and how did it help?
So just to put you into a picture, so we had Gianni Pastaglioni as our, what was he? He was a consultant, surfing consultant. And he had come and watched us row, and he told Roger we row short. He told our coach, both our coaches, that we were rowing short. And we thought we were rowing very long. Reaching into the catch, preparing the stroke from check 1 to 3 and making sure we're getting low. So when you're rowing, you don't see where you catch. You think you're catching there until you see. I just make sure I charge before I run out of battery. So when you're rowing, you don't. That you're not.
Oh, are you still there?
On video of us to put some straws on a boat. And obviously it was measurements.
Can you start again? Sizwe, can you start again there? Because we cut out. There's a...
Yeah. So I was saying to you earlier is that when Gianni came to visit us, that I think it was it was the year before the Olympics, he had told our coaches that we were running short. And so we never understood what it should mean. He said we weren't reaching to the right position at the cage and all, we can stretch a bit or more. And then so there was a bit of argument and fighting with the coaches. No, we're longer, we're very long. And, adapting to changes. So we used to fight. But anyway, we had to change to roll long. And that's why when it came to Buluka, and that's why we used to go to Italy, because that's where I think Gianni was based around there. That was his hometown. And so they came up with putting straws into the position where we need to catch. So everyone was measured according to their length and size of the length and where they can reach. The measurements were done. In the beginning, it was hard to get to it, but we were forced to get into it. So it meant a lot, and I think it was the right place. It seemed impossible at first when we did it. But every time we got it right when we did it, obviously the boat went further and went faster. And from the time we started rowing longer, speeds had generally changed. Per 500, per 1,000, and times were quicker. So those straws were made for us. It was just straws in the right position for everyone. We were all catching in the right position at the long place. And so it was important for me to make sure, as a stroke man of the boat, I catch where I catch, because if I catch shorter, it forces the one behind me to catch shorter.
Right.
And so you feel as well if someone was to row a bit shorter. And so there was a bit of help to get into the position. You knew that by hitting the straw, you're hitting it in the right place. You're more or less in the right position.
Yeah.
As long as you hold your point.
Were you able to continue to be able to maintain that length in the last quarter of the final as you were sprinting?
So that was in my mind the whole time. As I say, when I couldn't sleep, when I was saying earlier on, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
The focus, I was thinking length, I was thinking rhythm, I was thinking keeping the boat in the middle of the course. I know that Eton has crosswinds, so you've heard all about it, we've raced on it. I think for me, the main thing was rhythm and length. That was one thing coaches were hard on us. So as whatever you do, keep your length. Yeah. When you start rating high, keep your length. Don't shorten up, because everyone gets excited when they start rowing, when it's time to go home and all of that. People start rowing shorter and looking for 1,000 strokes per minute. But don't shorten it. That was the message from coach. So it helped quite a lot as a reminder. And when I raced at last 250, I had to maintain that length. How I got it, I did get it. I don't know how I got it. But I know that in the beginning, I told my coach he was crazy. We weren't going to be able to. And guess what? Guess what he told us? He said, well, this was Jen as well. I said, like, guys, if you don't get to that, if he's saying to me you can't get to the catch position, that means you can't win medals. And so then you're like, oh, okay.
Figure it out.
They're right. Yeah, and I figured it out. And they were right. So if we can't reach the catch at that position, we can't get medals. And if we didn't, we weren't going to get the medals.
Yeah.
So it took some time. When I say it took some time, it might have been maybe less than a month, maybe 2 weeks. But when you're standing still and trying to reach, say the boat's still and you're reaching to the position, it looks impossible. But when you're moving, you sort of get that momentum to get there. But then again, you don't want to have the boat's momentum going the opposite direction to be dipping it away. So you just got to hold your body weight up and making sure you stretch and also holding your posture right. And after a couple of practices, good practices, it's even out of your head. You don't even think of it. It happens.
Did you work on flexibility outside of the boat, or was it mainly just a technical focus to continue to be able to get that length?
So there were a lot of yoga exercises, a lot of stretch. You know, well, I find yoga boring, but not anymore after that.
Very good.
Before then, I used to say it's one boring. I mean, we used to spend 45 minutes, an hour. When I say that was part of the training program. So Monday, it's 3 sessions a day. Tuesday, it's 3 again. And then they'll add a yoga somewhere there and stretches for 45 minutes there. And we realized it was important for us to stretch. I mean, it was good for recovery. It was good for injury prevention, you know, and also, being loose and getting to the right position. So
to hit the angles, got to hit the angles.
Yeah, so there were a lot of exercises we did.
Excellent. So coming back to the present, so currently in your role coaching, you're at the women's rowing team at the University of Johannesburg, and so you're continuing really talent identification and development at the grassroots level, that junior level for South African rowing. Yep. So what are the things that you're focusing on, and what are some of the challenges that you're up against and South Africa is up against in terms of continuing to grow to the sport, help to transform lives? Are they mainly financial? Is it accessibility to water? Is it equipment? Is it a combination?
The answer is the combination. So it's access to the water, it's funds, it's equipment. As I mentioned earlier on, there are quite a lot of few schools which have scholars that have talent that can get into rowing. And we only have few schools that are around us in Johannesburg that have rowing. And as I said earlier on, it's the majority, it's private schools. And there are only few blacks are in those private schools. And so now going to a non-rowing school and finding a person of color, a black rower, you need to make sure the person gets into the training there and gets to the rowing there, has a boat to row, transportation getting there. So those are the challenges we have. So what keeps us, and obviously what's making us not transform that much is because we are now only focusing on the schools that we have rowing. We are leaving a whole lot of other people that we could be getting from schools. And so my focus now is to recruit as young as 15 to start looking at the young age. I mean, sure. Talent identification. And I think that's one of the things, challenges in rowing. And I think it's internet. I mean, it's a technical sport. So kids only start rowing at the age of 12 or 13, where you look at cricket or you look at tennis, you look at
soccer, American,
soccer,
football.
Yeah.
They're playing older, 4, 5, 6, yeah.
Yes, 4, 5, 6. So by the time now, a rower, you've lost 3-4 years of that.
Thank you for listening to the Leo Training Podcast. If this content is important to you, please be sure to rate and review so more people can listen. Also, you may follow me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook to get weekly free content. For more in-depth content, please subscribe to my email newsletter at my website, leotraining.io. Be sure to check out the resources page to download free, helpful content. If you have any questions or feedback, please contact me directly by email at joe@leotraining.io or via Instagram. The handle is @leotraining. Thank you again for listening and have a great day.